Hey everybody, and welcome to Grad Student Book Reviews, where we take an academic work and we dissect its thesis and main arguments in 5 minutes or less. All right, today's work is The Tragedy of American Diplomacy by William Appleman Williams, right? Another key work in American diplomatic history. All right, so Williams here argues that American diplomacy has relied on a strategy of economic expansion that is based on the open door policy and designed to promote American interests and objectives without going to war. Right, the ultimate political and economic thought was that only nations with an American-esque form of liberty or values or ideologies could trade with the U.S. Thus, we adopted a frontier thesis model, similar to Frederick Jackson Turner's, that took form in American diplomacy, that propagated economic imperialism throughout the world, similar to Lloyd Gardner's thesis. All right, so the basis of Williams' argument here derives from the open door policy that's really enunciated by John Hay in 1899 and is focused on China or the Asian markets. Right? At its most basic, it's a way to influence Pacific economic policy towards an American-centric ideology. Right? Really what it's using is anti-colonial imperialism, just like Gardner posits. Okay? And the thought is that America needed foreign markets to grow. It needed to expand to grow, right? And that new markets, specifically in China or the Asian market, was the way to do it without being overtly imperial. Thus, the open door policy was the diplomatic result. Now, as you move forward in time, the problem is these ideological revolutions, specifically in China and Russia. Right? Once they move away from what we perceive as liberty to a Marxist worldview or communism, right? This creates tension with the open door policy, with our notion of wanting to trade only with those that have like-minded values and ideologies. What Williams says, though, is that we have stuck to the open door policy, regardless of their ideologies, and it has not worked. Right? What he says is that this puts the diplomatic instrument of national power on top of the proverbial food chain of all other instruments of national power, like the military or information or media or really economics, if you will. But Williams says that diplomacy, forcing an economic policy through the open door policy, is the tragedy. Right? He's saying that the open door policy has failed and that American diplomats need to radically re-alter their perception of strategic success when dealing with states that don't have the same ideologies as we do, such as Russia and China. All right, so really, this book is a success, right? He highlights how economic expansion has formed the core of American diplomacy throughout the 20th century, right? He argues that the variations of the open door policy led to a forceful promotion of American ideals abroad. Now, he does say that throughout history there have been times where diplomats have tried to alter the open door policy, but as soon as there's any kind of hiccup, whether in world affairs, World War I or World War II or the Great Depression, we run right back to the open door policy, regardless of its shortcomings or its failures. And that is a tragedy as well. Really, this is a good work to look at historiography because you can see strong ties to Lloyd Gardner's thesis. You can see strong ties to Frederick Jackson Turner's thesis. As you can see, just based on the label of the book here, Andrew Bacevich himself also weighs in on this. So there's a lot of people that can really utilize the notions of William Appleman Williams in here. It's great for grad students. I will say that his basic argument seems repetitive throughout. By focusing solely on the open door policy, it seems like you lose some of the other world history arguments or diplomatic history arguments or even American history arguments dealing with foreign policy here. So I do think that's one shortcoming, but his economic expansion theory, anti-colonial imperialism based on the Pacific open door policy is a well-founded argument. So if you agree with that, go ahead and write it in the comments. If you disagree, write it in the comments. As always, subscribe so you can get new videos. And thanks for watching. Keep studying.